Hello, dear friends and guests of our channel. Sit back and enjoy listening to our stories. The kitten has only recently opened its eyes. At first, it couldn't see much, but it soon found itself lying under its mother's warm side. The pussycat was purring, licking its babies, and they snuggled up to mother and didn't even look around. But our kitten was different from the others. The first thing it did when the objects around stopped blurring was to start exploring its surroundings. The pussycat took the kittens to the attic of an old barn where the owners rarely looked. At first, everything was well, and the kittens managed to hide. The pussycat would only get out of the den to eat and then cautiously slip inside. The owners thought that it was climbing over the neighbor's property, so they didn't climb over the abandoned barn looking for its babies. One day, the pussycat went in search of food to a neighbor across the road. There was a bowl full of fish scraps there, and the animal, without expecting it, lingered there long enough. At that time, our little kitten woke up. It wiggled its nose curiously around and then happily jumped up while its mom was away to have a look around. It was still clumsy and uncoordinated, and therefore looked like a little bear cub swinging from side to side. The kitten had moved away from its siblings and made its way to the broken ceiling beam, where its mother had come and gone. Curiosity didn't let go, overpowering the fear of the unknown. It took a few steps on the beam, but couldn't keep its balance and rolled over in a heap. It fell into a pile of dust and mud and sneezed loudly several times. There was an unknown world of old things all around. The kitten immediately looked around, but got stuck in a narrow passageway between rusty metal pieces. At this point, the kitten became frightened. It couldn't move forward or backward. With fear, the kitten made a loud howl. It desperately called out for its mother, but the mother was too far away to hear it. There was an uproar from above, and loud shouts woke up the siblings. They couldn't understand what was happening, but they willingly supported the meowing. At that moment, the landlady had just passed near the barn. She opened the door and saw the fluffy little creatures and frowned. Immediately, all the little ones went into a bag. The landlady hurriedly left the yard, walked a couple of blocks, and dumped the bag near the rubbish bins. The pussycat searched the barn for its kittens for a long time, yet it couldn't find any of them. Meanwhile, a homeless man was rummaging around near the rubbish bin. He found a bag of kittens, shook them into a large cardboard box, wrote "Take me home" on it with a found pencil stump, and put the box by the nearest shop. There was nothing more he could do for the little ones, but it worked too. People paid attention to the animals. Someone put a bowl of water, another put some cottage cheese, and several kittens were almost immediately taken to their new homes. Our kitten didn't run towards people when they appeared over the box. It tried to get behind the cardboard walls, jumped on them, rammed its forehead into them, scratched, but it couldn't overcome the obstacle. When the baby finally got tired and decided to sleep, it was surprised to find that there were fewer siblings. The kittens stayed in the box for a couple of days before they were all sent home. The only one left was our little guy. It managed to bite the girl's finger and make a puddle on the woman's light-colored coat. The people who wanted to take the animal gave up their idea after the unpleasant gift of a kitten. So it sat alone in its cardboard prison. On the evening of the third day, clouds covered the sky. Something rumbled in the distance, and then a downpour began. Huge, heavy drops hurt the kitten's forehead. At first, the little beast was curious, but rather quickly it became wet and cold. Water spread over the cardboard, soaking every inch of the box. The walls of the shelter got softer and softer, and they couldn't withstand the pressure and collapsed. The kitten jumped happily out of the sickly box, but couldn't run away, as the rivers and lakes of rainwater were pouring all around. So the baby climbed up the steps of the shop and stood by the door. "Oh, you poor darling, you're soaking wet," said a voice over the animal's head. The kitten was picked up in a woman's arms, pressed against the jacket, and carried somewhere. It was only indoors that the little one managed to escape. It looked around with interest. The animal got into a warm, dry flat. The kitten didn't wait for an invitation, and immediately, with the look of an owner, began to explore every nook and cranny of the room. The corridor made no impression on it. The little fellow gathered dust with its whiskers under a coat rack, playing with shoelaces, deeply dug its claws into soft boots. then pushed a bunch of keys under the cupboard and moved on to the next room. By evening, the little tail had managed to roll around in the curtains, leaving ugly torn marks, spilled a bowl of water, dug up the earth in the floor vase with a potted flower, made a puddle on the fluffy carpet by the bed, and happily fell asleep on the bath mat. It didn't hear the man come in. He went straight into the bathroom and stepped onto the mat without looking under his feet. There was a desperate meow. Claws and teeth hung on like grim death at his leg. "What was that?" The man, bewildered, wriggled free his injured limb. "Isn't he cute?" the woman asked. "Let's keep him. I found him in the rain, alone and soaked to the skin." The man didn't like the idea, but decided to deal with the problem after dinner. However, he first stepped on the wet carpet, then saw soil scattered on the parquet and an elaborately decorated curtain. On his way to the kitchen, the landlord stepped on the unexpected furry guest again. Now his other foot was hurt. Even after a hearty dinner, the man was in a bad mood, but the woman begged him to keep the animal, and he promised to think about it. In the evening, the owner sat down to work on his laptop. He finished an important project, dumped it on the flash drive, and put it on the nightstand next to the laptop. The kitten was so tired from the day's work that it slept peacefully in the woman's arms. The little one was dozing, even when the people had gone to bed, but by 3 o'clock in the morning, the kitten was already rested and full of energy. Fluffy stretched, noticed something interesting on the nightstand, and immediately dropped a flash drive on the floor with its paw. The toy turned out to be uninteresting and almost immediately got stuck under the sofa. Then the kitten turned its attention to the charging cord from the laptop, which dangled invitingly from the nightstand. A loud pop woke the people up. When they turned on the light, they saw the laptop knocked over on the floor. The kitten was nowhere to be seen. But once the people were asleep again, the little guy found a plastic bottle cap and began rolling it around on the floor with gusto. The angry and sleep-deprived owner searched long and hard for the flash drive in the morning. It was finally found under the sofa, but the keychain was missing. Then the charger cord was found to be badly chewed, and his new leather shoes were adorned with deep scratches. It was just a minor annoyance, the woman persuaded. "Because of this minor annoyance, I was late for work, lost my laptop and expensive shoes. Annoyance has no place in our house." The man picked up the kitten and carried it back to its original spot outside the shop. The kitten happily darted off to explore its surroundings. By lunchtime, curiosity had brought it to a bus stop. "Oh, Daddy, look how cute he is," a little girl crouched down next to the baby. "Let's take him home, please. You promised me a kitten." The father reluctantly nodded, and the girl picked up the kitten in her arms, and soon it was in its new home. It was even more interesting here than in the first flat. In the girl's room, there were toys scattered all over the floor, and a parrot was sitting in an open cage. During the evening and later at night, the kitten managed to deprive the parrot of a large tail feather, to gut the teddy bear, to chew Mom's flowers, to scratch Dad's work briefcase, to make a puddle in the girl's maths notebook, and to tear a piece of wallpaper in the corridor. In the morning, the whole family frowned with sleep deprivation. The father resolutely picked up the kitten, took it outside, and left it in the small square near the river. It was immediately interested in the murmuring of the water. It wanted to touch the river with its paw, and the height of the parapet didn't frighten it at all. It reached forward, somersaulted in the air, and plunged into the water. Panicked, the animal darted out, pawing at the surface and making a loud meowing noise. Fortunately, the kitten had fallen near the shore and managed to get a grip on the coastal litter, but it was impossible for the little one to get out due to the high concrete parapet. People heard the little fluffy thing, but didn't know how to get it out. Someone ran to the nearest shop for help. The vendor made a simulated basket, tied a rope to it, and threw it into the river, hoping that the animal would figure out what to do. To the amazement of the crowd, the kitten really understood what it was supposed to do. It immediately climbed into the basket, and the people pulled the rope up, lifting the small animal above the water. The people around rejoiced and applauded the resourceful vendor, and then somehow, imperceptibly, they all went about their business. The man was left alone with the wet, unfortunate animal. "Sit with me in the shop, and then I'll take you home," the vendor decided. My wife had wanted a pet for a long time. The kitten was so tired that it slept the whole shift wrapped in a towel. But when it was brought into the flat, it immediately looked back with interest at the lace-up boots. Well, cats'll be cats, right? Thank you so much for listening to the very end. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to the Viral Tales channel and also hit that bell icon to be notified the moment we have another story ready to share with you. All the best, and we'll see you next time.